Good evening, everyone. This is the activated one, New Brighton, breaking down the symbolism of the Egyptian Sphinx. Now, I'm not going to go into when it got his nose shot off, and this is going to be straight symbolism of secrets. The same way that your elites today communicate in codes. Because when Egypt started to fall, before it fell, mankind, the beast, they had to infiltrate from the inside out. Now that's where you get the term as wise as a serpent. Now the term wise as a serpent is so significant because that's how Egypt fell. See, mankind, the Europeans, they had to infiltrate from the inside out. So they had to when they started infiltrating, they started to the Egyptians, they started to share their knowledge and wisdom with them and started to tell them about the power of the serpent mentality, because everything is mental. That's where you get the word government from. It's just short for governmental. So when they infiltrated and they did what they had to do to take down the inside of the government first, so they had to cause chaos and confusion, divide and conquer, because you have to divide and conquer first from the inside out before they would send their troops in. Just like with the Native Americans and the Olmecs, the Moors, you have to first cause confusion and separation mentally with the people before you attack. So there's so many stories about how the nose got shot off, and yeah, this video is not about the nose. It's about the symbolism of the Sphinx, because the bottom of the Sphinx is the lion, which represents the Leo constellation, because each symbol has each symbolism, it was multiple codes in it. And the main code that this was representing was overseeing the beast, the mankind. That's what that Sphinx means. It meant they were overseeing. You had all these other nations coming down to Egypt, getting information, and then how Egypt fell, they started sharing the information, and they started sharing the intel with them, the stuff they were receiving, the next things that they were receiving. Because at one point, when you're dealing with power and you're at that level, you can't share your intel with everybody. Just like the governments on the planet today, they don't share the intel because they can't. They're in power. So the intel that they receive, they have to keep it on lock. That's why I tell everybody, when you Google something, you're on Google, Siri, and Alexa, they're not going to give you intel. They're just going to give you information. There's a lot of cats on the internet, a lot of teachers on the internet, and some of the stuff they teach is cool, but they don't understand that every time you go on Google, for one, you always have to remember that we don't run none of these servers. We don't put the information in these servers. So when you Google something and it pops up, they could tell you anything. I always tell people, man, if you didn't see it with your own eyes, like with this COVID-19 that's going around. Everybody knows, anybody that's intelligent knows that there's always going to be something, an agenda to something that's on a massive, anything on a massive scale, you have to question. just like Jesus and religion. That's something that's really massive. Anything being pushed on a massive scale, you question it. Well, some of y'all ain't gonna question it. Some of y'all just really good mental slaves, and you ain't gonna receive nothing next. That's just the way it is. I'm talking to the ones that are gonna be activated. So that's the real meaning of the Egyptian Sphinx. They were in power. They were overseeing mankind. They were overseeing the beast. That's why they have put the Egyptian head on top of the lion, because the lion had represented mankind. The head was representing the wise as a serpent. I wouldn't even be surprised if on the Sphinx, when it was first built, that it had a serpent on the forehead. I wouldn't be surprised if it had that. Probably blew that off and his nose. But that's the real meaning of the Sphinx, overseeing the beast. They were overseeing mankind. They were the ones that were dishing out jobs. It's the same. It's the same as today. A lot of people, they go to the suburbs, go home, then they come back into the city. They work. They clock in, then they go back home. That's what Egypt was. So you had mankind, the humans coming down there working. They probably had like fleas or something on them. They would have to go to Egypt. Egypt would, get the fleas and the ticks and stuff off of them, and then they would have to work. They would have to work that off. They would have to be there, have to labor that off. If they didn't have nothing, no currency or anything to pay at that time, whatever they were using, if it was gold, silver, coins, they would have to work it off to get the medicine. Same thing was going on today. And that's the same. That's the thing about the what the Bible portrays when it says wise as a serpent. That's what that means is just, when you're in power and you're doing things, you have to be real wise, and you have to move a certain way, move around a certain way, to stay in power. And so that's when mankind had infiltrated, that's how Egypt fell. So that's the true meaning of the Sphinx, overseeing the beast. That's what that means. And then it has a little bit to do with astrology. I mean, there's multiple things that it means, but that's what that means. And then dealing with the nose and the nose getting shot off, there's so many stories on how that happened. That's really irrelevant. I'm looking at the symbolism of it, not really the physical aspect of what happened to the Sphinx. But yeah, I was sitting there looking at this. I'm like, man, so that's overseeing the beast. That's what that means. That's exactly what that means. But man, this is New Bright. This is just a real quick video. I've been busy lately inside the house, about to do some painting, and with this quarantine, social distancing. But yeah, that's the real meaning of the Sphinx, overseeing the beast, mankind, when the Egyptians were in power and they had slaves. Now slaves are also workers. They made it seem like Egypt wasn't paying people. Some people were in debt. Some people were actually working. But they always portray Egypt as a evil society, because it was one of the biggest ones that were in power at that time. So they're always going to flip everything and make it backwards, where it seems like, oh, they just made people, whipping people with whips and making them work and not getting paid. But people were getting paid. I mean, like I said, if you was in debt, you would work your debt off, or you would get paid in some type of element or currency. But that's the real meaning of the Sphinx, overseeing the beast. That's why the head's like that. So yeah, this is New Brighton. A lot of our people don't have their junk deactivated, but the ones that do, we're back on the planet. I'm out.